tomorrow at 18:25. Come and see the awards that are going to be honoured and awarded. All of the winners. We're doing the raffle prizes as well here. So make sure you're here. 1 for the starter pitch, 2 for the award ceremony, and don't miss out on your prizes for the raffle of the evening. Now, up next we have our panel discussion based on digital payment processing between Web2 and Web3 worlds. Let's welcome on stage Jess Holgrave, CEO of Wallet Connect, Marcel Harmon, Thorchain representative, Sergey Birath, head of product at Xportal, and Chi Wang, co-founder of Litecoin Foundation, and the moderator, Daria Kazanova. Thank you.
Wow, so many people here at 5 p.m. Amazing. Already. So, hi everyone. We're really happy to see your faces. I'm hosting a panel like second time here. Maybe some of you know me. I'm Daria Krasnova, senior editor at Being Crypto. We're one of the top media outlets in the world, covering all things Web3 in 20 languages. Today we're here to discuss the marriage of traditional digital payment systems and the emerging decentralized finance. It's been on the radar for years, but seems now it's the exact moment when we're finally getting close to make everything work. So before we dive in, let's ask our amazing speakers to introduce themselves briefly.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm Jess Holgrave. I'm the CEO at Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect is a protocol that connects apps and wallets, and our main focus is on building better user experiences to drive adoption within crypto. Payments is super close to my heart. Prior to joining Wallet Connect, I was at a payments company where I spent a lot of time building fiat payment solutions and crypto payment solutions. So super excited to be here.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, it's nice to see you all here. My name is Sergey Birish. I am leading Xportal. I'm part of the Multiverse X team who launched Xportal. Xportal is a multi-chain non-custodial wallet that also offers a debit card. So I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion. My background, I've been an entrepreneur before for a lot of years. I started 5 companies, sold one to Facebook in 2014 for 500 million, and then I jumped into Web3. So yeah, here I am. Thank you.
Wow, impressive.
Hi guys, I'm Shishi. Well, I started to buy Bitcoin in 2011 when I was still doing my PhD degree in Singapore. And then I got fascinated by these amazing cryptocurrencies. And then I started my own cryptocurrency exchange, which is called Coins You Trust. And then in 2017, I started this Litecoin Foundation together with Charlie Lee, and then raised a few $1 million to develop and also promote Litecoin. Now I represent Litecoin here. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's warm up from kind of broad question. In your opinion, what issues in blockchain technology affect digital payment processing, and what solutions are emerging currently? Jess, can you start please?
Yeah, what issues? Well, I think that the issues can be broken down into a few categories. Number one is around user experience. And today the user experience in Web3 is light years behind where the user experience in Web2 is. And I think that often as an industry we can kind of forget that. We can think of the incremental steps that we make as being great, which they are, but ultimately we have to remember that in order to take crypto to the next billion users, And I use that sort of turn of phrase very deliberately rather than bringing the next billion to us, because I think we have to meet them where they are. We have to meet their expectations. We've got to deliver them experiences that feel familiar, whether that's about how we log on, how we use key management, the types of privacy that we expect. All of these things are very, very critical to mass adoption. And within Web3 today, we just aren't really there yet. The idea, for example, that I would want my credit card statement to be entirely public to everybody, people can see step by step what those transactions are. That's the equivalent to what we're looking at in blockchain today. So there's a lot of room for improvement, both in terms of the UX and then also in terms of privacy, in my view.
We were discussing it basically behind the scene. Don't you think we're a bit stuck on current stage? Because again, like these problems are here for years and we still don't have like a perfect solution.
I think one thing that gives me a lot of optimism about this year and about the developments of the last few years is that I do think we've made significant improvements. The advent of smart accounts, of being able to sponsor transactions, sponsor gas for transactions, abstract away some of the complexity of needing a seed phrase, build better solutions for recovery and security. I think that now we have a lot of the primitives that are there that will allow us to build those better user experiences. I don't think we've quite seen them come to fruition yet. I think we've really just seen those primitives get put in place. But I think that we now have some of the tooling that as developers we can start to build those experiences.
Yeah, sure, thank you. Sergio, from perspective of someone who issues the bank cards, so you're one step closer to fill this gap. Can you please share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think that we are going into a very positive direction. I think a lot of important things are happening, and with X Portal, our vision is very much in line, meaning that we believe that technology should be invisible. Actually, people should not have to think a lot about how does a blockchain work. And things like that. And in our view, crypto fiat money is money. So that's kind of what we're trying to convey to users and give them as an experience. So very, very easy onboarding process which we've put in place. We indeed issued our own debit card in the sense that we have a sister company that we acquired that has an e-money license for all of the European Economic Area. So we thought, we have this great wallet with a very, very easy to use components. So we put a lot of emphasis on the user experience and making it easy for Web2 users as well, not only for experts. Because of that, we allow them to easily on-ramp, like buy crypto, and then off-ramp as well via the debit card. And we've seen that what's really important for users is actually this component of user experience is the most important. We've tried to do everything in the app. Like we have our own KYC process, try to control the entire user experience from start to finish, so that the user doesn't feel like they have to interact with too many external components before they can do what they want. And what they want is, they want to own a little crypto, maybe invest, maybe swap a little, and then, stake, and then probably pay with their card and use crypto in real life. So I think we're getting closer and closer to this moment where technology will become more and more invisible, and we won't talk a lot about crypto and fiat, normal money, but money in general, and it's a finance app, and we position ourselves as a financial super app just because of that reason, that we want users to be able to do whatever they want as easy as possible.
You notice the importance of education for users. Who has to be in duty of educating them?
I think obviously we ourselves have a component of that, education. We have to educate them and explain, every step of the way, what they need to do and what they need to learn in order to, because once you are your own bank, right, you also have the responsibility, and they have to learn and understand that. But I think the entire crypto space as a whole is making a lot of great steps into educating people more about this part. And because I come from Web2, I've kind of seen, we are right now in Web3 in a phase where we've kind of getting to a point where there's more mature projects in the space. People are better educated, they understand what they need to do, how they can be safe. We are helping them be safe as well along the way. We have some very innovative features like an on-chain 2FA component and things like that. So we have our own part in educating them, I think, but I think the entire space has the role.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly, same thoughts. Dr. Cincy, as a veteran of this space, because you've survived a lot of market crashes, bear markets and everything, and you're here and well, can you please share your thoughts on how this space evolved, the payments landscape?
Sure. Well, as we know, when Bitcoin was created, it was supposed to be a cash system to facilitate a currency system to replace the current fiat system. Well, although that still takes a very long time to implement, I think we are working towards that direction. And Litecoin is a lighter version of Bitcoin. And the advantage of Litecoin is that it is much faster, and also the fee is much cheaper than Bitcoin. That's why Litecoin is very suitable for payments. And on BigPay.com, you can see that Litecoin is actually the most used cryptocurrency among Bitcoin, ETH, USDC, and some other coins. So Litecoin is already the top cryptocurrency for payments. Right, and I see that this trend is going to evolve so that more and more payments will be facilitated by cryptocurrencies in the future, simply because of the easy to useness, the speed, the transaction fees. Right, so you see that in payment industry, the most important one is cross-border payments. And now we are still relying on the banks who actually rely on correspondent banking relationship, which is actually a chain of banks to facilitate payments in a very slow but also expensive way. And with the cryptocurrencies, these chains of banks can be eliminated eventually, and the cost and also efficiency will be improved quite significantly.
Thank you. Since we already started to discuss user concerns like UX and UI problems, let's dive a bit deeper and expand this thing. Just how do you think, what other concerns are users feeling when jumping to Web3 payments, and how can we overcome this problem?
I think another one of the big steps that we've made recently is in the sort of the advent of the stablecoin era. For a long time, when we were talking about being able to make payments with cryptocurrencies, a big concern for users was what that exchange rate would look like. How do I make sure if my liability is denominated in US dollars, that by doing a transaction in Bitcoin or anything else, I'm not going to end up with an adverse FX risk. So I think major steps forward in terms of stable coins. Today, still, most of those are US dollar denominated, and so I'm very excited about the progress that's being made around euro denominated stable coins and other stable coins that I think will actually enhance that user experience even more. But I think that's definitely got to be one of the big barriers that until today has prevented a lot of people really wanting to use that. I still think that there's more that we can do there. We recently launched a partnership with Coinbase for on-ramps within the apps that use our app SDK. And we use fee-free USDC on-ramping there. And for me, that was a real win because I hate the idea that a new user for crypto pays $10 and gets $9.80 of USDC. It feels like a very clunky end user experience. So I think the closer we can get to real parity between stablecoins and fiat, the easier it will be for new consumers to get their head around the idea that this is just another payment instrument and that I don't have any additional risk when I'm using it. I think we need to layer on that, on top of that, much lower fees for usage. And again, we're starting to see that it's raining in Dubai. This is a site, I lived here for a long time, but only saw this once or twice. I hope you can still hear. So I think lower fees and then the advance of stable coins, I think is also going to be a big driver of adoption.
Thank you. Sergio, I have a question for you again. From the security point of view, like security still stays a huge problem for many users when jumping from Web2 to Web3, because people tend to remember very bad things like stablecoin debug, someone wrecked, like big project crash, same story. So how can you overcome this?
Indeed, I think security is one of the barriers for onboarding the next billion users. Also, the whole vibe around getting scammed, your secret phrase being stolen, and so on. What we've done, as I mentioned earlier, we've implemented an on-chain 2FA solution on Multiverse X blockchain, which essentially, and I won't go into technical details, but essentially protects users even in the case that their secret phrase is stolen. So let's say the scammer convinces you to give away your secret phrase, but you have the Guardian, that's how we call it. You have the Guardian activated in X Portal, and you'll get a notification that you have like a number of days until you can still move your funds somewhere else before your account is completely taken over by somebody else. So helping users without, they have to have these options available and features available so that they're not worried that they will have this kind of problems. Now, of course, you can't, even with all the security in place, you still can't protect everyone, but as much as possible, I think it depends a lot on wallets, platforms, providing this level of security to the users so that they feel confident that they won't lose their funds. Especially when we're talking about non-custodial wallets where you're really in charge of your money and nobody has access to it. I think this component is very, very important.
Yeah, sure. Do you have something to add?
Well, for Litecoin itself, I think we all know that it's pretty secure. Based on the past more than 10 years of history, it's never hacked. It's like 100% uptime, right? So it's pretty secure, almost all of the time. And so regarding security, because I'm running a centralized exchange myself, so I do have some experience on that as well. And because regulators will require us to do all this kind of security policies and also auditing every year, not just the technology, but also the internal management. We all have to sort out everything, and yeah, so security is pretty important to our customers. Yeah, it's actually one of the most critical things especially when you're running a custodial-based exchange. As far as I know, a lot of exchanges got hacked during the past so many years, and we don't want that to happen again, for sure.
How do you think, did user expectations from platforms and projects change with time? So maybe like 10 years ago, crypto users were way more desperate, I'm quite sure. And now they want this like high-level security.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not just the regulators raised their requirements, which you have to comply anyway, because that's a legal requirement. If you don't comply, they will revoke your license. They will ask you to stop your business. So from the user's point of view, they're also much more mature than before. Now they will check a lot of things like your reputation, your regulation licenses, all these kind of stuff to make sure that they are actually trading with the legitimate cryptocurrency exchange.
Yeah, thank you. Let's jump to more technological side. How do you think what technological advancement had been like the most crucial in facilitating the seamless cross-platform transactions between Web2 and Web3?
Between Web2 and Web3, I think actually I'm not sure we've reached seamless. When I look
as seamless as possible.
As seamless as possible. Like I think that when I think about that movement in from fiat into crypto and vice versa, I think that the user experience there today is still very poor. I think it's improved by the fact that more and more people understand that it's bad. So if you go back 4 or 5 years, you were in a situation where when I, as an end user, wanted to use a new crypto app, I had to, number 1, create a wallet, store my seed phrase. Number 2, go to a crypto exchange, buy some crypto. Number 3, send that crypto to that wallet. And finally, I'm at the stage where I can do something with the contents of those wallets in that app.
You're already tired when you come into this point, like,
right.
No.
You're exhausted if you've even got there. And I don't know what the data says, but it's something like every single click that I make as an end user, the drop-off is like 20 to 30% of end users. And so when you're talking about a process that is multi-platform, multi-click, lacks security, not at the blockchain level, but just at the end user level, it's not surprising that you have to be a real crypto geek in order to actually end up using those applications. I am prepared to go through that pain because I believe in what we do and I'm here to advance the industry, but it's not surprising to me that most of my girlfriends are not interested in doing that at all and that they fall away at the first hurdle. So I think that we're getting there today. Now if you're using many applications, you can go in, you can create a wallet, you can load that wallet, you can swap into any currency that you need to, all without using that app, or without leaving that app interface. So I think that we've made many strides in that regard, but it still doesn't feel seamless. I'm still now at the stage where I've got multi-wallets in different places, where we're asking end users to pick a chain. Most end users have no interest in picking the chain, they just want to do something. So I still think that we're at a 2 out of 10 in my view for how we can create these better user experiences. And when it comes to security, I think that there's an awful long way to go. We did a big survey recently where we surveyed crypto users across the UK and the US. And we asked them specifically a lot of questions about security. And you can download this report. There's a lot of really interesting stats in there. But the one that really surprised me was that about 25% of end users say that they don't use the security factors that are available to them. So even if your wallet offers you 2FA, even if the application that you're using has some enhanced security features, a lot of people just don't use it. And 6% actually said that the reason that they don't use it is because they are too lazy. So these are people who are saying, I am concerned about security in Web3. It is preventing me from doing things. But do you know what? I'm just too lazy to do anything about it. And that for me highlights that even what we've got in place from a security perspective isn't easy enough for end users to use. It doesn't create a delightful end user experience. And so we have to challenge ourselves a lot more here to do better. This isn't about even anymore being as good as a Web 2 application. It's about being better than a Web 3, than a Web 2 application. It's about showing people that there is something more delightful about Web 3 than there is about Web 2. It's one of the reasons I'm really excited about things like session keys, where for the first time we can create much more innovative use cases with crypto. Until today, it has been the fact that I need to initiate a transaction from my wallet. But if we're talking about payments in the broader landscape, there are so many different kinds of payments that we use today. There are subscription payments, there are direct debit payments, and none of these can be facilitated easily with crypto today. But I think that the next generation that we're going to see of applications and of infrastructure this year will start to enable these broader payments use cases, and that's where we'll really start to see payments taking off.
Thank you. How do you think, Sergio, do we really need like a super app that has it all?
Yeah, you just heard, we do. We exactly need an experience like that where you don't have to go out of the main app and do something else, come back. And that's exactly what we've been building for the past, I think, 3.5 years, including the fiat side. And I'm going to put an emphasis on fiat because I think it's really important for everyone to not ignore that we are still in this big world, that crypto is not everything, and people actually still prefer in a lot of cases to use fiat. So we've actually tried to work with that script in mind where, okay, so people are still going to use fiat. All right, how can we bring in people that still want to use fiat and then they discover crypto? And apart from the debit cards, we will be launching IBAN accounts for users, peer-to-peer fiat payments. Again, it's about the experience that the user wants to have, and it's not about the technology at the end of the day, because the technology, of course, it will advance everything, but first and foremost, it's about what the user needs and wants to do with the app and with the money, right? So I think for us, we've actually managed to come to a point where it's really easy to open an account, really easy to buy, swap, order a card, use that card, have the statements there, have everything, and it's kind of blurring the lines between the crypto and fiat world. And I believe a lot in this vision, and it's kind of the only path forward. I see that things will really be able to go to the right scale.
How do you think, let's be optimistic here, how long will it take? Not to onboard like next 1 billion users, but still to like make a big step to mass adoption.
For us, I think, being optimistic, I think 1 or 2 years.
That's good.
Yeah, I think we've been building so much, and we've been working on a lot of things in the background, that we're in a point where I really believe that we're able to give this seamless experience to users, so that they really feel comfortable with using a crypto app, just because they kind of have everything there, and it's really easy to use.
Dr. Sinzi, of course, I have a question for you as a veteran of the space. You've seen the whole evolution of it, so how do you think, what was the turning point when Web2 and Web3 payments started to recognize each other?
Well, so Web2 is pretty much regulated pretty well, and Web3 is pretty much still pretty well, and the government are working on bridging them by imposing a lot of regulations between them, so people have to do KYC, do transaction monitoring before they can enter the Web3 world. And also when they leave the Web3 world to the Web2 world, they have to do pretty much the same process. Yeah, I see that regulation is still a pretty important question in the middle, right? And now I think people are still relying on a lot of regulation technologies to bridge the gap so that the user experience is going to be as smooth as possible. But still, I see that there's still a lot of room to improve. It is pretty hard to automate everything at this moment. For example, I'm running a cryptocurrency exchange. It's pretty hard for us to do KYC automatically for every user. Maybe we can do automated KYC for maybe like 60%, but still for the rest of 40%, they still have to be manually checked, and we may have to email back and forth asking for documents to onboard them, right? So this kind of manual process is actually a pretty big hurdle to bridge the gap. And I think with the development of artificial intelligence technologies, especially the large language models, and I think these kind of problems will be solved more and more in the future, so that entire process is going to be much smaller. I think that's going to be pretty quick because of the AI development we can see that LLM is developing like crazy. People are putting trillions of dollars into that. Yeah, so I think this is going to be a pretty big improvement in the next few years.
Yeah, thank you. Speaking of regulation, don't you think that all the regulatory hurdles are one of the main problems? Users are still hella scared to interact with Web3 apps.
Yeah, so from the regulation point of view, I see onboarding, which is KYC, KYB, and also transaction monitoring. Besides that, I think FedEx has some regulation on travel rule, which means that when you send crypto to another one, not just the crypto, you have to accompany that crypto transaction with some metadata, including the sender and also the recipient's information, like the name, address, account number. All this kind of information have to be transferred, which is very different from normal crypto transactions. And we have to develop the software to implement that. And also users have to get used to that. It's not easy to get used to it because intuitively to us, who is very familiar with Web3, we just want to send crypto. We don't care about the meta information like name or address, which is very cumbersome to us. So we will take a lot of time for us to get used to that. It's not just the technology, it's education. I think it could take years for us to get familiar.
Sergio has something probably to add here.
I think regulation is actually, this part I think is actually improving as well, and that it will become less and less burdensome going forward. We have now MiCA in Europe, which is going to start regulation on the crypto space. And I think this will indeed start to be less of a problem, but it will still be a hurdle because I understand completely, in terms of anti-money laundering, financing terrorism, and so on. There still needs to be checks. So these two things kind of go head to head with the user just wanting to use their money as freely as possible. They can, with in a non-custodial way, nobody has to check anything. But in terms of an exchange, there's a bit of a responsibility on that side, and you pretty much can't avoid the KYC process. Now, we also have a company that we acquired that has a license for exchange services from the National Bank of Portugal, and we can see, indeed, you have to have also a bit of a manual check. Is not everything completely automated, but I think it's kind of part of today's game, and you have to go through these hurdles for a while until things get better. But I think they've gotten better in the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, come on, we all know regulations are here to stay. They won't disappear overnight for sure. So the main problem is we still don't have like one framework for everyone, because like Europe wants to regulate this and that, US wants to regulate everything. So Singapore and other jurisdictions are way lighter. So yeah, but again, I think we'll go there. Probably not in a year, but maybe 3, maybe 5. So okay. Oh wow, we're running out of time. We only have 6 minutes. So let's dream a little. What developments in this field are you most excited about? Like the current ones, maybe future ones, some narratives you see, like the early ones. Can you please start?
I'm really excited about Web2 meets Web3 payments. I think that the existing payment systems that we have today, in many regards, are failing a lot of people. In respect of cross-border transactions, especially peer-to-peer transactions, but also when you think about payout transactions from businesses to end consumers, the fees that we see today, how cumbersome it is to access those payments, it's harming the people who need this to be better than most, right? It doesn't affect the people who are transmitting thousands of dollars so much, because the payment fees as an absolute percentage are relatively low. What it impacts is the creator who's using a marketplace in the US to make $100, and by the time that lands in their bank account and they can use it, it's actually only $75 now. And so I'm really excited about the collision of these two spaces. Regulation is a really important part of that, because without that, it's impossible to get the other side of the house on board, right? Payments is a two-way thing. By its very definition, I as an end user might want to use crypto, but unless somebody on the side is willing to accept that crypto, it doesn't help me as a payment today. And so I love the work that wallets are doing to integrate card payments, for example, because that's solving one half. It's solving the half that says, let me use my crypto and execute that transaction in a way that the end merchant is happy to, i.e. they're happy to receive money from Visa or from MasterCard. But it still means that those payments are going through these very antiquated rails, and that somewhere, some big rent extracting authority is taking a cut of that transaction. So I think that what I'm hopeful about is that regulation and technology too can help us bridge that entirely, so that actually we move from the need to be able to use a card, for example, and actually have enough in place in the end-to-end transaction from a consumer to a merchant that can facilitate the whole payment flow. We can remove interchange, we can take those fees right down, which is going to benefit everybody. Now, of course, what we need is consumer protection as a part of that, and I would be completely wrong to say that the schemes didn't provide a huge amount of value in the consumer protection that they do provide. But I think that's the missing piece today, is if we can solve the consumer protection piece on an end-to-end basis, and we can get merchants on board so that they feel comfortable and confident in accepting crypto, then we can do entirely end-to-end flows from consumers to businesses. And I think that is going to have a real transformation in the way that payments can work.
We need another panel for discussing business payments in Web3. Sergio, your turn.
Yeah, I actually totally agree. I think that would be the moment where, you know, blockchain meets real world. Let's say where you can have an entire payment rails on the blockchain, and you said earlier stablecoins playing a really important part in that. I think this is probably the one of the most important actually use cases where blockchain could really intersect with the real world, and payments is huge, right? Like it's probably the most important one. So very much agree on that point. We'll most probably also see AI taking a lot of like the front seat into a lot of things that we're trying to build Also in terms of security, probably. Also in terms of what we're able to provide to users in terms of user experience. But it kind of has to also be embedded in the experience and not be just, you know, a fancy word on an app somewhere.
Thank you. Dr. Wong, last word is yours. We have 1 minute.
Well, so Litecoin is already the top cryptocurrency for payments among Bitcoin, ETH, USDC on bpay.com. And I think Litecoin still need a stablecoin on top of that. And we are working with the team to launch a euro-pegged stablecoin on top of that. And I think that's going to be a very impactful thing, because if you look at the USDT circulation, half of the USDT is actually on Tron. The reason is very simple, because the Tron's fees is very low. Litecoin fee is actually much lower than Tron. So I think more than half of the euro pegged stablecoin is going to be on top of Litecoin, which will make Litecoin an even better payment tool. And so beside the stablecoin on Litecoin, I think AI is going to also create a much more seamless payment experience in the future. Maybe in the future we don't have to really click a button, confirm a list of things. Maybe AI will make most of the decisions on our behalf, so that we don't really have to care about all the details. We just ask for what we need, then AI will pay for everything. We will just get the product and services.
Interesting, thank you. Thanks everyone, it was quite insightful. I hope you guys liked it too. And we're over here.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.